last two games, you've started well offensively, but then you guys don't sustain it. As you look back on the last two games, what's changing there after the first couple drives that you're not being able to generate as many yards and points?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the other team scoring big plays. We've come out the last two games knowing that we had to start fast. We felt like one of our keys to victory this weekend would be able to weather the storm in the first quarter. They've outscored their opponents like 90-something to 15 in the first quarter throughout the course of the year. And then, I take and kind of look to see how the game went, as far as the tempo of it. We came out and we kicked off to them, and they hit a big play right there, very first play of the game. So what? You got 59 minutes or something left still to play, so we're still okay, And then they drive down there and get a touchdown, and then we get a great return from Raheem Mostert, and we're 2 plays later we're in the end zone, So it's 7-7, and then we kick it off to Wisconsin, and they have an 8-play drive and they punt. So we're still in good shape, and then we get the ball back and we're 3 plays and out, but we're still in good shape. It's 7-7, and then they have Wisconsin has a 6-play drive, and they hit another big play in that drive. Now it's 14-7, and then we get another good kickoff return, get good field position, and we kick a field goal, and it's 14-10. We were on the +1 yard line fixing to score a touchdown, and the ball comes out, and we recover the fumble, but we lose 4 or 5 yards on it. So we're knocking on the door to be tied up, but instead it's 14-10, and then now Wisconsin has the ball again. They have a 10-play drive, and it's 21-10, and instead of pretty much wrapping up the first quarter, so we're behind a little bit, and then we get the ball, and there's 12 minutes left in the half, and we had a 5-play drive, and we get down to what's 4th and 1 on the 33. That gives us a chance if we score right there to be 17-21, and we don't get it done on 4th and short right there. So I really felt like that was kind of a turning point in the game in some ways, where we had a chance to be right with them prior to going into the half, and then we didn't make that play, and then they take the ball, and they have a 3-play drive, and then they fumble it, and then we get the ball and we throw a pick. So we kind of exchange the plays right there, and there was a period of time in there that we really struggled when we tried to throw the deep ball a couple times with us not having the right to the football, and that impacted the game some right there when we're trying to make a comeback and trying to stay close. Weather the first quarter storm, and we have a chance to weather the second quarter storm. So next thing you know, Wisconsin has the ball, and they drive 57 yards in 7 plays, and they get a touchdown, and now it's 28-10. And then we get the ball, we're 4 plays and out, and then they get the ball, they have another long drive where they get a big play, and now it's 35-10, and it's 2:53 left in the half, and we take the ball and we drive it down the field, and we're able to get a touchdown. So now it's 35-17. So I think that offensively, I think we keep doing a pretty good job of trying to answer the bell. We're playing against really good competition. We got a couple of tough calls. But again, it's 35-17, and it's right before the half, and they manufacture a little bit of a drive, and then they take a field goal. So we come in, and it's 38-17 at the half. But in my mind, we get the ball next, and if we can score and make it 21-35, then it's only a couple possession game, and we take the ball and we start a drive, and we get all the way down to the 35-yard line. We go for it on 4th down, and we don't get it. And there's 13:36 still left in the third quarter. So we still have a ball game. There's still a couple possession ball game, and then they're able to drive and score, and then we get the ball back, and we're going down the field, and there's some collision, and there's a ball that's batted up, and there's an interception. So we go from where I think that we're going to get ourselves in position to compete. We're taking the ball and moving it down the field to close the gap to just a couple possession game. And then 4 minutes later, it's 52-17. So that's an unbelievable swing in the ball game. There's 13:36 left in the ball game, and we're on the 35-yard line with a position to give ourselves a chance to compete. And then next thing you know, 4 minutes later, it's 52-17. So we have to do a better job offensively answering the bell. I think we're doing a pretty good job with it. But a couple plays difference offensively, and we're right there with them in spite of the inordinate amount of big plays that we're giving up defensively. And then defensively, we have to play hard and not give up so many big plays. We're playing against some great offensive football team. They average 40-something points a game and several hundred yards a game. We're playing against a great offensive football team, but we're giving up too many big plays. And the same thing happened last week. We got ourselves in position to compete. We got ourselves in position to answer the bell several times throughout the course of the game. But when it's all said and done, way too many big plays. You can't keep up like that.
Are you getting out of your offensive game plan earlier in games? These last two games, you're getting away from what you've planned to do all week when you find yourself behind or giving up the big plays?
Well, I think what we've done a good job with is we've done a good job with some special plays. We've kept them off balance some. We have our bread and butter plays offensively, the things that we do, and we're executing those to with some degree of success. Obviously the competition is really tough, but I think Coach Norr's done a great job of manufacturing some special plays to allow us to stay on the field some, to make some big plays to cover the distance of the field some, and to try to create more points, to give us a chance to win. In the second half, we're having to get out of our game plan because pretty soon we're running out of time, and the opponent's still making big plays, and we're getting further behind, and we're having to throw it every down. The last probably 20 plays of the ball game, the score is really lopsided. And we're trying to manufacture some offense, and now Wisconsin can just dial up where they want to defensively, and you're running and protecting into a lot of pressure and a lot of movement, and a lot of blitzes. So we are having to get out of our game plan, but not really all that much in the first half. I think we've been there in position to compete in the first half with the offense answering the bell. We've made some plays defensively, but given up way too many big plays, and that puts us in a pickle in the second half.
In the last couple games, your defense has gotten turnovers. I think all 3 in the first half, and you just haven't gotten points out of it. I mean, that can be a huge momentum changer.
Right.
And the defense gets the play and the offense doesn't get it. I mean, is it
absolutely
just an execution?
Well, it's either execution or the competition, or sometimes it's a collision downfield somewhere and who had the right to the football. It's a lot of little things, but the bottom line is we have to execute a little bit better on offense. We have to answer the bell some. If we have to score 20 points to win the game, so be it. If we have to score 50 points to win the game, so be it. And defensively, we cannot give up that many big plays. There have been more big plays given up in the last 2 weeks than I've seen in a lot of football games, and that may be a result of a lot of things. We were down numbers-wise a little bit on the defensive front, and we wore down some, and then we're trying to load up and stop some very dominant run-oriented football teams, and sometimes we get ourselves a little bit thin in the back half, and people could do the math, and they've taken some shots and they've manufactured some big plays, against our back half, against some man coverage and some coverages were a little thin back there. So, we're going to do better offensively, cashing in on our opportunities, answering the bell every time we need to in order to keep up points-wise, and defensively, we're going to play better in regard to big plays. Are killing us.
I was going to say, you notice a common theme these last 2 games with the big plays? You kind of mentioned.
Well, I don't know. We're going to take a good look at it, and take a look to see how much may be against man coverage, or is it when we're pressuring or bringing some type of blitzer game when maybe we don't need to. We're going to take a good look at it and see, but I think the quality opponent has a lot to do with it. And then at the same time, they're so Michigan had coming into the game a couple weeks ago was so dominant as far as number 16 goes, and we're geared up to stop that. And then Wisconsin, I mean, you got to pick your poison. You'll get geared up to stop the run, and they have an outstanding passer, one of the most efficient quarterbacks in all of college football. So you got to pick your poison, and that was really tough this past weekend. Very tough.
It looked like before the game and the pregame warm-ups, when you guys, do Skelly, I guess, basically, you really got after him. I mean, I think you stopped him and pulled them all in a huddle, and you were really kind of yelling and, pounding guys' chests and stuff. And I think they even
you
hit number
my twin brother. Come on now, that's how rumors get started.
Like this,
yeah, okay. Pounded my chest.
Coaching time.
Yeah, we were just getting them ready to go. Had to make sure they're ready to go.
Yeah.
One thing you can't do is come in on Sunday and say, "Man, I wish we had been ready to go." And
right.
I didn't like the tempo in pregame, and teams are different. Some teams when I was here before, they really got after it in pregame and really got after it in the locker room. And when I was coaching at Wyoming, that football team won a lot of games too, and a very quiet and solitude type pregame in the locker room. And I wasn't really sure where we were at, but I knew we better get ready to go. It was really important, we thought, that we weathered the storm in the first quarter. That had been their MO throughout the course of the season. 90-15. You're talking about 5-1 ratio from a scoring standpoint. It's hard to come back with that. So it was really important, and I couldn't tell, with the big stage and with all that going on, I couldn't tell exactly where we were at. So I didn't like the tempo of it in pregame, and that's one of the things that if I don't like the tempo of it, I can change that. And I took an effort to change the tempo of the pregame.
Because you typically don't tackle in those drills. I mean, for one, took Ralph to the ground.
Yeah. We brought him up, and I couldn't tell, so we're going to get some. I wasn't going to wait till after the game and say, wow, I wish we'd have done something out there in pregame when I wasn't sure. They weren't going as hard as I wanted them to go, and I couldn't tell if they were ready to get after it right now, and we were fixing to kick it off pretty soon. If they weren't ready right now, we were going to be in trouble. If you didn't weather that first quarter storm, you weren't going to have much of a chance. And even at halftime, we were 2 scores down, then they got the field goal. But even at halftime, I felt like we had a real chance because we were going to get the ball back first. And I thought that we had done some things offensively and still hadn't used every good play that we had in the game plan. And I felt like we could come back and still make a game of it. They had been down or had a couple weeks before, against Michigan State. And I think Michigan State was down by 2 scores at the half 2 weeks ago and came back and won the ball game. So we were still encouraged that we were still in it. But there came a couple points at times in the course of the game that things got away from us.
Will Ryan Russell practice today?
He won't practice today, but he's in better shape now than he was this time last week. He only got about 20 plays, and so we played Adam Brockman quite a bit, and we had a lot of mistakes, a lot of errors defensively for a lot of different reasons. They did a lot of different things formation-wise, and they shifted their tight ends and their fullbacks and their H-backs around a little bit, and sometimes we had different keys and reads from a linebacker standpoint based on the backfield sets, and we had some errors with that, and that cost us some. And then we tried to spread the linemen that we had left to go in the game with, try to spread them around some, and we got some guys lined up in some new positions, and we called some defensive packages, if you will, and we had some mistakes, and it created some big holes. And they're a zone football team where they do a great job of reading the zone blocks in front of them. They have cutback reads, and they cut it back some and made some huge plays out of it. So we didn't play near as good as we can or need to defensively, as far as being sound goes, and a lot of that had to do, I think, with moving some people around, trying to get our best players in the right spots, and that may have snuck up and bit us some. And then, again, we didn't do a good job on some plays with our linebackers as far as their keys and reads based on the shifting and moving of the tight end and the fullback and the H-back personnel. And that aided to the efforts of a really good Wisconsin offensive football team.
How did Panfile do?
He did pretty good. He didn't hurt us any at all. But there's some things that we need to brush up a little bit with him and the rest of our offensive linemen on a couple plays that I think can really make a difference for our run game. He hasn't played any offense, and it's funny because I heard one of the kids joking around with him a while ago. His mom said, he'd been moved to offense. She watched the game on TV and looked there. He wasn't there playing guard. He told anybody it happened so fast, But I think he's an unbelievable talent, and he has 2 things that are really important. One, he's a very good athlete. 3 things. He's a very good athlete. He's an upgrade as an athlete, as an offensive lineman in some ways. And he's really, really smart, and he's already really big and strong. So we've moved some guys over there that are good athletes and are smart and they're playing, and we wish they were a little bit bigger and stronger. He's already big enough and strong enough, so I think he's going to be an outstanding player at that position. I don't have any doubt about that.
What about Peters Dry this week?
We'll wait and see. I'm not real optimistic about it. He sounds good. He's saying the right things, but he looked terrible at the end of last week, and we'll just have to wait and see. But we're going to play him like he's not going to be ready, and we can get Panfile and Shep and those guys ready to go.
Any other injuries? It looked like Pegram was maybe holding his hand?
He's got a hand injury, and I'm not sure if it has a break in it or not. They're going to hold him out today, and then he'll be okay for Tuesday. If he's got a hand injury, they'll pad it up, and we'll still utilize him. He's more fullbackers for us right now. But we were fortunate we came out of there without a whole lot of injuries. We got some guys that are sore, and we have some guys that played a lot, but we're okay health-wise, and that's a good thing because we're getting awful thin.
Did you meet with the full team today at all?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just gauge their mood after what happened and kind of where they're at maybe mentally after yesterday's game?
Well, anytime that you get beat bad, a couple weeks in a row, you have to make sure that things don't start slipping from a confidence standpoint. And I think we have some good leaders on our team that stepped up and have said some of the right things about how we need to approach it. The first thing we have to do is we have to stick together, and we have to eliminate any stinking thinking at all, because that's right now is when they'll sneak up on you, if you're not careful. And we have some tough opponents coming up, but we also have some realistic opportunities in front of our football team. We're playing at Ross Aid. We can play a lot better, obviously, on both sides of the ball, and if we do that, we can expect to win. So I think the mood is okay. I think the football team has a sense of urgency about it. We're disappointed in our level of play the last 2 weeks, and we still have a lot to play for. So we met, we talked about the things we did well, the things we didn't do well, and we're going to go out there and work on them. But it's a big weekend coming up, and we'll be ready to go. We'll show up and we'll be ready to go. I know that.